Hey guys, come to you from my office today, my home office. But I want to talk about payments because there's a lot of conversations around that. Okay, who decides what you pay with? Okay, that's key. Which is Oruka. So Oruka is a smart payment ring. The user can tap to pay with their rings. So instead of walking around with a wallet or walking around with your phone, especially if your battery is very low, as is the case these days, you can just tap to pay with your ring. So I walk around with my rings. This is actually a crest, a family crest, where if I tap on your phone, it shows my family tree, which I think is the coolest thing ever. We just started this. This is brand new. And no one's doing this today, just us, uruka.com. Just check family signet. And then payments. So we do payments as well. So you can tap to make a payment with your ring. This obviously is applicable for you. If you're a runner, you don't want to run around with your bags, hurt your back or your bones. You cannot get a ring and just tap, buy your water, buy your drinks. You can wear your watch, but if your watch runs out of battery, you don't have to panic anymore. You don't have to panic about charging it. Once you're done with your race, your battery could go, no problem, because you could tap to pay. Support us. If you go for a concert as well, most of my customers, when they go for concerts as well, they just go with their ring. So keep your phone and belongings safe. Okay. But it got me thinking, and obviously a lot of people ask this as well, especially when I'm debating or having conversations. Who decides what we pay with? Why is crypto not out there? Why are more people not using crypto at the moment? Okay. So that got me thinking, right, to say, hey, who decides what we pay? People feel, and this might go against a lot of people. I'm saying this from a banker, right? So I've been a banker for the last 25 years, okay? A lot of people think the regulators decide what you pay with because of the currency. So they can turn around. If you have US, they will tell you you're paying with a US dollar. Again, by the way, guys, put in comments here. I'm happy to have this debate. Not because I'm a banker, but obviously you guys all use money, so you know what your government is like. But you think, or people think, the government decide in the sense that they turn around and say, okay, if they want a US dollar, if they want a pound sterling, if they change the currency tomorrow, that's it. I agree. People also think as well that it's because of the bank. Okay, so that means if you're going to bank your money, if they only take US dollar, there's nothing you can do about it as well. That's okay. But here's the point, which I'm looking at. In the long term, that's my question. In the long term, who decides? Here's what people don't realize. It's actually the people who decide, not the government, not the banks. That's crazy to think about. In fact, because you as one person, you think you're powerless. Okay. As two people, you think you're powerless. Okay. I want to tell you how we decide, how people, you, not me, because I'm obviously I'm on the banking side here. Yeah, I actually give people my rings to use. I'll tell you why. Okay, yeah, let's talk about rings. So we've got so many customers coming in here, right? A lot of customers still have their mentality that they have to pay by cash, that cash is king. Okay, but I talk about this a lot. Cash is not king because people know exactly where you are. You think you're untraceable, your money is going to run out. Your money runs out as soon as possible, you're going to a bank. That is exactly where, for the bank, you're doing more because you're showing your ID every time you withdraw. You're putting your PIN. So the bank or the customer or the bank, sorry, the government knows exactly where you are, in what city, and they know exactly how much you withdrew, and they know how far that money is going to last you. If the government is going to track you, they can track you based on withdrawals, and you're always going to run out of cash unless you withdraw 1 million and carry 1 million around with you. But you better carry the 1 million around with you in the country. You're not going to get out of the country because of the customs, the borders. If you go out with more than 10,000, you have to declare it. When you declare it, that's where the government knows where you are. Okay, so cash is not king in the aspect as people think they are. Cash is only king around your locality. So you're only a king of the village, if I call it that. You're only the king of that small locality where you are, because when you buy coffee, tea, anything you buy, the government can't tell, but they know the location you're in. And they know you're not going out of that country because you're going to have to declare it. Anything over $10,000, you have to declare it. Other countries about the same value, 10,000 euros, 1 million, pesos, everything is about the same value, and for good reason, because they want to be able to track you with cash. So cash is not king as people think they are. It's just a mentality that people think. But I've noticed as well that people now go into convenience. So that's why a lot of my customers order these rings, because they don't want to have to use a battery. So battery has become an issue. But I want to look into the history of different countries and how people decide what to pay with. So right now I can tell you the cash utilization. So it used to be about cash, okay? But cash utilization has gone down. We only have about 30% of people actually paying with cash. 2%. So that means 70% are doing just pure electronic bank transfers because it's more convenient for them, not because the government asked them to, right? There's also as well a few people that actually moved into crypto. We'll talk about that for a minute. But let's look into stats here. I have stats here. So if you look at it, there are 9 out of 10 Swedish people in Sweden, 9 out of 10 pay by phone. So they go by phone, they pay by phone. In the US, 6 out of 10 pay by phone. The phone became really, really big, and no government or bank said, hey, you have to pay by phone. They provided the utility there. They say, hey, you could There's phone and there's cash. People went with phone. Why? Because it was more convenient. You see what I'm saying? People went with phone because it was more convenient. Same thing as well with, then obviously now the phones are starting to die, right? So the batteries are dying. So now that's why people are starting to think of alternatives like rings and like palm payments, going back to cash because the phone's batteries are dying. My phone battery is already 10%, right? If I don't charge in the next few hours, it's going to go. If I was going on a journey right now to, around the corner, I have to look at my battery and make sure it's fully charged. So that's becoming an inconvenience. It was a convenience before, now it's becoming inconvenient for people. So that's why you don't see people moving away from that. A third of people in Germany still use cash, by the way. And then people, again, a lot countries, Poland, Turkey, Italy as well. Italy, about 90% of the people just pay by phone. So cash is just gone from the system. And it wasn't gone because the government had some ulterior motive, or anything. One, it was just inconvenient, okay? So in general, people decided that they want to go into the people. Which of the people? Is it me, you, or is it the merchant? It's the merchant, actually. If I show up to a cash point, if I show up to a corner store is basically where you buy simple things like milk, sugar, things like that. If I showed up there with my phone and the merchant looked me in the face and went, cash only, I have to go get cash. I'll have to go withdraw cash and pay. If the merchant said card only, I better have my battery fully charged to pay by phone. Okay. If the merchant said, card only, or phone or thing, then you can use your ring as well to tap to pay. If the merchant said crypto, you can pay by crypto. That's how I'm going with this, right? So crypto, you can see already it's taking up in the market. You can see already that crypto goes up to, utilization is going up now. There's a lot of soft POS providers. Ingenico is a POS provider that is now accepting crypto. And there's also, I think, a huge chain that accepts crypto. Most online companies these days accept crypto as well. And then the question now becomes, the merchants are accepting crypto. We already hold crypto. So what does that mean? That means people are now accepting crypto slowly, but it's a move that the merchants decide. So I want you guys to think about that because everyone thinks it's the government. They're nervous about that. Everyone thinks about the banks because of that. But I can tell you, the people decide. If the merchants have so much cash and crypto, right? Guess what's going to happen next? I'm using this as an example. It could be cash. It could be Apple Pay. The idea I'm trying to put into everyone's head now is that the people decide, not the government. You can argue as much as you want. It's the government and it's the people that decides. And the people means the merchant, because the merchant says, I'm not taking cash. Here's the silly thing as well. So how did currency, the word currency, come into play? It's because of interchange. And the interchange is always the person who wants something. The person who's giving decides the power. They decide what they want to accept as currency. That's where currency came in. Cattle. People thought cattle were vital. So if you want something, you give cattle. And the person accepted cattle because cattle was important. Same thing with wheat. When wheat became good or salt became important, salt was seen as important because you needed it for food. People accepted salt as payment. Whoever is accepting is who has the power. I'll tell you why the government is not as well, because people argue that the government is the strongest here. The government is not, because if you look around you now, guess who is going into crypto now? The government. Does that sound like someone in power? It takes time, but eventually the people decide. That's the point. I mean, if you want to hang up now, you can stop the video now. If you learn nothing, just know that the people decide with time. Eventually, the people decide. And it's happening right in your face now. Crypto, central banks, governments are buying into crypto. Central banks are buying into crypto because they need to monitor what's going on there, because they need to see what's happening. If you don't, which was the case, if you don't, people are going to say, well, how am I going to pay my taxes? You're not going to accept crypto as taxes. Guess who loses there? The government. If a merchant just accepts crypto all the time and keeps accepting crypto and crypto and crypto, and at the end of the day, they only pay their taxes in US dollar, it's a matter of time for the government to think and go, wait, these guys are taking crypto. We want to be there, want to be able to monitor what's going on in crypto. So we make sure that we're taking the right amount of taxes from these merchants. And that's why you see a lot of people going into crypto. That's why you see the government going into crypto. Banks are going into crypto because of this, because they want to be where the people are to serve them. They want to be where the people are to monitor them. I hope you see what's happening there, right in front of our very eyes. Go in and check your central government. Your central government right now is issuing their own form of crypto quietly. If it's not public, it's quiet. Look at your government. Your government is actually buying into crypto at the moment, trying to get into stablecoin or issue their own stablecoin so that they know what's happening within the blockchain. Because that's the future, because people are there and the people decide. Okay, so guys, I hope you've learned that. Again, if there's any comment, just let me know. I can address it. I can talk about it. And we know this because, again, we're in the thick of it, right? We're seeing what's happening there with our rings. We allow users, connect to any bank. We allow users connect with any card, debit or credit. And we just doing a joint venture with Binance and Coinbase at the moment. So that means you can also spend these rings with Coinbase, with Binance, with crypto. So we're in the middle here. We allow everything. We're not like the government that turns around and says no and then joins later. That's an attack on the government there, guys, by the way. But I think that's clear now. Please, guys, know that you're more powerful than you think you know, and know that you with time decide what payment you accept and what payment you give, and then that makes the government formulate policies around that, including tax, including returns, including the banks themselves, who then accept it as some form of payment because that's where their customers are. You can think of the biggest bank, again, I'm going into this, the biggest asset manager in the world, BlackRock. BlackRock, JP Morgan hated Bitcoin, hated crypto. They specifically said it that they will not be part of that rubbish called crypto. In fact, I think Jamie Dimon famously called it, the CEO of JP Morgan, famously said it's just a currency for drug dealers. In fact, he was going to fire anybody in his company that traded crypto. What's he doing now? And he's not doing it because he fell in love with crypto. He's doing it because he's lost customers. He's lost you guys. The banks are turning around and going, wait, we better be there because we're going to lose customers. I hope that makes sense. And I hope that's clear. So you're powerful. You're more important than you think. Take care and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.